Hi everyone, Katie here. Welcome back to another layout video. Today I'm making a double page layout about a 4K that I ran with my family back in December. So I have all these ring pieces. They're just paper ring pieces that I cut out with my new WRMemory Keepers circle cutter. It was actually just what I used to practice with, and they were sitting on my desk, and I was like, you know what, I have an idea. So I decided to pick out a few of these pieces, and then I was like, no wait, I think I want all of these pieces, and I'm just kind of playing around and seeing what I can do to make these more interesting. So the race that I ran, it was in December. It was really cold. It was Christmas themed. It was called the Reindeer Romp, but it's part of the Polar Bear Grand Prix, you know, so it's all wintry. So I'm painting with my Vicki Boutin watercolors. These are the Cosmic watercolors. I think they're still in the American Crafts Vault sale if you're interested, but I got them at Joann's quite a while ago. But I really like them. I just think they're fun and they're so shiny, and I like the colors. So I use the blue, the one that's like very much a blue one, and the one that's very much a teal. And then here on this large ring, I don't have another blue paint, so I decided I'm going to use some of my inks. I use my Heidi Swap Color Shine in Ocean and Navy, and then one is Dilutions. Yeah, I think that's a Reindeer ink product. Yeah, it is. Spray, and of course I use them mostly for just doing little splatters, and I didn't realize that the misting aspect actually does not work. Like, I was trying to mist them and I just could not get it to work, so that was kind of funny. But I was like, okay, we'll make this work, and I just splatter all over with all three of those dyes to make, you know, a few different colors all over that last large ring, and then I kind of drag it all over my silicone mat to get even a little bit more interest. And I actually really like the way it turns out. I like the different colors. I like that the Dilutions is more of a matte finish, but the Heidi Swap Color Shine are a little bit shinier, therefore matching my other pieces. Now, I've got my pictures, I've got my little bib, and I have that last circle that's a complete circle that I decided I'm going to use as my journaling piece. Now, I know this is going to have to be a double page layout, and I'm not sure what I want my background to be yet, so I've just kind of laid it all out on my mat, and then I was like, okay, well, this needs to be pretty blue too. So I use my Distress Oxide to just ink it up in a unique way. I just kind of twist the pad on there, and then I use this gold ink to just do the edges. Now I'm about to use my very favorite tool in my whole scrap room. It is a typewriter. I actually found this about a year ago at a local Goodwill, and it works. I had to do a little bit of work to it, but it works, and it is so fun to use. I love it. I just love it. So I put my little journaling box here on just a regular piece of printer paper so that it will go through my typewriter more easily, and, you know, kind of stay in place as I type out my journaling. Now, I don't do this all the time. It's not perfect, and I am not a perfect typist by any means, but like I said, it is just so fun to use. I absolutely love it, and then I love the typed look in my scrapbooks. Even though if you look and actually read it, you can definitely see that I'm not the best typist, as I said. I've got some spelling errors sometimes. I've got a couple extra spaces. You know, the line spacing is not perfect, but that's okay. Still working on it. And again, really enjoying it and loving using this. So much fun. So if you have a typewriter and you use it for scrapbooking, let me know in the comments, just because then we can, you know, share the fun and the joy of using it. I'll tell you a little bit about my journaling. It's just about the race. When I say we, I mean my sister and I have started running together, and we run mini marathons. Well, we have run 2. But we thought in between our minis, we would try to stay in shape by signing up for this local 4K. And I hate to say it, but unfortunately I just did not feel the need to work out much and train for this 4K after running mini marathons. So we didn't really, we weren't in our best shape, but we still had a ton of fun. It was really cold this day when we ran, but we had a good time. We ran, and then my mom and aunt, they walked it with my son as well in the stroller. So that's who's all bundled up right there. And, I guess it was his first race. So we had fun. It was a ton of hills, which is never friendly, but we signed up for it. We knew what we were getting into. Now I have just 2 pieces of white cardstock here. They're actually from the Heidi Swap Storyline page protectors that I got again in the vault sale, and I just decided to use the completely blank side, the white side of that paper, because it's nice, thick, background quality cardstock. Now I've got all my circles laid out kind of in just like a little slightly overlapping line here. I'm not exactly sure why I did this, other than I was like, you know what, I think this might look kind of neat, so I just go for it. And I taped my pages together because you can't really see it, but right down the middle is the seam of my 12 by 24 layout that obviously I'll have to take apart, and it will cut through one of the circles, but that's no big deal. I kind of like how cohesive then the layout is. Now, some of my rings weren't showing up super well, so I wanted to just use my sparkly Jelly Roll pens to add a little bit of definition there. Just kind of, helps you see it a little bit better. And I really like how it works, especially on that white largest ring. The other 2 rings are a little bit warped just because they were painted on, so those don't show up quite as well. It's okay. It doesn't bother me. I like how the whole layout turns out, and that's all that matters. Now, I do go ahead and stick down that photo of my son first because it kind of got stuck with some of the adhesive when I was putting down the circle. So we just kind of go for it. I add these gold photo corners as well. I know that's not usually necessarily like super wintry, but I thought the gold just kind of popped on this page among all the blues, and I really liked how it looked. So that was kind of like my accent color going forward. I do the photo corners on all 4 of the photos here just to, keep it cohesive. Now, if I had it to do over again, I would have gotten out my T-square and just made sure it was all nice and straight, because I'm kind of looking at the layout now. I'm like, I don't think my photos are perfectly straight, and you know what? It is what it is. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. And if someday I'm looking through my layouts and like, oh my gosh, that's not straight, well, you know what? That's future me's problem, and that's fine. I just like overall how the layout turns out, and next time I'll use the T-square. Now I have these very small gold thickers. They're actually not some of my new ones. They're ones I've had for a long time. And when I first get them out, I'm like, oh, I don't have any E's. And thankfully I found one more package at the bottom of my drawer. So I was set. I could spell Reindeer Romp, which was the title of the race, the name of the race that we did. And what I didn't quite realize is that these thickers also have like a very slight teal color to the foam. So it's like a little teal and gold, which I think just fits this layout so well. I also really like how I decide to put the title going up the circle. So it's, kind of on a rounded line. I just think that's fun and different, at least different for me and what I usually do. So I really like that. Now, I know that my page is just a little bit too blank, I thought about doing a pattern paper as the background, but I thought that would be too much. So I decided, I'm going to do some stamping to add to the background. I have a few snowflake stamps. Oh, and I'm sorry that it kind of gets cut off there. But I start out with a gold ink. Now, this is a gold scrapbook.com ink that I've had for a long time. I gotta be honest, it's not my favorite, and please excuse the camera shaking as I'm stamping down on my desk. It's not my favorite, but I also think it needs to be re-inked. So, you know, you can't really see that gold ink, but it is there. I go back with some Distress Oxide and very lightly do some extra snowflakes. Now, they show up better in person than they do on the page, or I'm sorry, on the video here, and that's totally fine with me because I can see them here looking at my layout. Hopefully in the picture at the end you can kind of see a little bit better. I also feel like even with all of this, it still needs to be framed in. The layout was just a little bit like too open almost. So I frame it in with a navy sparkly jelly roll pen, and I just draw the lines. And I do 2 lines to make it look intentionally not straight, rather than, oh hey, I tried to make this straight and it just wasn't, which I would definitely do. Now I sliced my layouts in half just to have each piece and decide, you know, it's still not quite done. Of course, add a little bit more adhesive to that circle just to keep it down. But then I decide to get out my pops of color. I don't know what this one is called. It's called Disco. It's really cute. It's all these silver glitters, and I put one little dot in the middle of every stamp. And then I flick the back of it to kind of get that little Hershey Kiss top to flatten out so it looks more like an enamel dot. Now, that is just about all I need on my layout other than my date stamp. Now, I have this perfect roller date stamp. I just set the correct date, and I go ahead and add the date there in the left of my little bib to finish off my layout. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.